Good morning, Maria. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. We're going to be discussing your experiences with the Food Service Women's Alliance and their mentorship program that you have been a part of. I'm really excited to dig into all the great things that you've kind of pre-shared and talked with me about. And so let's get started. Would you introduce yourself and speak a little bit about what you do today?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity, Christy, and to the Food Service Women's Alliance. Feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to share my experience. My name is Maria Nakasone. I'm a senior category manager at US Foods, the broadline distributor. I'm currently in Kenosha, Wisconsin, but I've made about probably 8 to 9 moves throughout my career. I am originally from Lima, Peru, uh, but I've been here for about 25 years. And I joined the Alliance as soon as it became an organization. So, and enjoying every minute. Thank you.
That's amazing. You're an OG member.
Yeah, I
Why
guess you
don't
could call me that.
why don't you speak a little bit about kind of reinventing yourself into another industry from retail to food service?
Sure. Yes, I spent about 15 years in grocery retail, mass retail, specialty retail, and also in food and beverage manufacturing. But I was always curious about the other industries within food and beverage, right? Like convenience and food service was another one. And so when I had the opportunity to apply for this role, I really jumped at it. Um, I would say, reinventing is a really great word. It really requires you to be flexible, very curious, and also to have confidence in your skills, right? That whatever experiences and skills you gained in the past, you can use them a little bit differently, but in the end, they'll add value to your new employer, right? So I would say I did it because I wanted to learn a new industry, and I find it fascinating, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's definitely it's kind of special in some ways, right? You have such a full view of the entire industry, all the different facets of how food comes to everyone, which is really
Absolutely.
neat.
Yep.
So what inspired you to seek mentorship within the Food Service Women's Alliance?
Sure. And it's exactly because I'm new to the industry, right? So I know food and beverage. I know most of my suppliers, but moving from retail to distribution for food service was going to be very new to me. I knew that I was going to learn, from my boss and through the onboarding process. But one of my goals in my 30, 60, 90 was to find a mentor that an external mentor, right? And that's why when FWA presented this opportunity, I immediately joined. So, and I had, the fortune to have Fedra as my mentor.
That's amazing, right? Mentors are such a powerful tool, but I also think that as an individual, having the wisdom to seek out mentorship and even the humility to seek out mentorship is such a key point for growth across everyone's careers. But it does take a willingness, I think, to like raise your hand and say, yes, I want to seek someone to help me along my journey. I've been very fortunate to have had some really incredible mentors, and it's powerful tool. What specific skills or knowledge do you feel you've gained from working with your mentor that you feel are benefiting you in the food service industry?
Absolutely. So I would say, you know, when you move from one company to the other or from one industry to the other, you obviously need to learn a lot, learn new systems and processes, etc. But I think the most valuable advice that I've gotten from my mentor is, at the end of the day, what matters is your relationship with people, right? And how you manage your internal teams, your cross-functional teams, your internal customers, as well as how you manage the relationships with your suppliers, right? So in my case, I speak to my suppliers almost on a daily basis, and they are absolutely key to the success of the business and of my team. So I think that advice is critical. I've heard it from many of my mentors, and I think that's the one piece that I always take with me.
Yeah, 100%. And what do you think is kind of the most valuable piece of wisdom you've learned from your mentor that you feel is something you would pass along, I guess, to others?
Sure. I would say is if you choose to have a mentor, be very intentional about what you want to learn, right? Be very specific about the area that you want to develop. Be a good listener. And if you agree with the advice that your mentor is giving you, if you see the value, act on it, right? Act on it. And also, it's really always nice to report back and say, hey, Fedra, I did what you suggested. It was awesome, right? Thank you so much. Or, hey, I tried it and it didn't work. What can I do differently next time so that I can solve XYZ problem better than last time? So, and
Yeah, like having that loop, that feedback loop, right?
absolutely.
Between you and the mentor to kind of share what's working for you, but also maybe, hey, you tried this great advice, but I tried it and here's what happened. And how do we fix this part?
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I would say is, a mentor-mentee relationship should be built on trust, right? And also on the idea that you should give as much as or more than what you receive, right? So I strongly believe that the mentor also benefits from a mentor-mentee relationship. So I really hope that Fedra is also enjoying the relationship we have, and that she's taking value from what we're doing.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's it's funny. People sometimes think about it, right? As like, oh, the mentor is giving to the mentee, but it's really more than that. Because I feel that, yeah, I'm mentoring people and I learn so much from those situations as well, right? And I come away with even hearing about people's struggles or what they're working on, it like clicks in my brain and helps me learn something new. Or it's just that beauty of that relationship, and that like we all learn from each other in different stages, which is really kind of a neat piece of it. What are the ways that you feel the Food Service Women's Alliance Mentorship Program has empowered you to reach your career goals?
So I'll be very specific. I had a couple of situations where I had to negotiate with either an internal customer or with a supplier, and they had to be really tough negotiations. And Fedra, my mentor, was amazing, right? She not only gave me great advice on how to handle the negotiation, but she also recommended literature to read, right? And so the combination of both helped me tremendously with getting to a great negotiation with my vendor. And I think, as we all know, right, negotiation is not about winning, but winning together, right? If one of the two loses, it's a lose-lose. So I think that's a very specific example of what I've learned from Phaedra.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think we all, if people say they don't, they're probably lying to themselves. I think we all struggle with imposter syndrome or self-doubt, right? And especially, you and I were even talking about this before we started, right? We both made that switch from retail over to food service. I feel it today, 3 years in, where I'll be sitting in some meeting and I don't belong here. I don't know, I don't know what to do in this situation. And so how do you feel that you've overcome, managed that? And how do you feel that having a mentor has maybe played into helping you with kind of pushing that self-doubt aside and saying, yes, I can do this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all go through that. But I think something that I've learned from my mentors is, and as you gain or get promoted to higher roles with more responsibility, you can't avoid but to think, oh my gosh, like you said, what am I doing here, right? But I think the one thing that I will always remember, one of my mentors, said many years ago, he said, Maria, you know your stuff better than anybody else. And so, and I keep that in my mind always when I'm self-doubting. And the other thing is that, we shouldn't question our value. And one of my coaches, mentors, said it so many times that I actually have it written in a little post-it, and it's DNQYB, do not question your value. So I think it's easy to sometimes doubt oneself, but I think,
Yeah,
however, I think if you practice this on a daily basis, it will become natural to you, and the imposter syndrome will really go away, right? So I think
it's
that's
very
what I
true.
learned over the years. Mhm.
Yes, and I love how you have that written down. It's almost reminds me of there was those like bracelets in the 90s that people were wearing, right? I feel like you could have little bracelets like that to just remind ourselves to not doubt ourselves. Because
Exactly.
ultimately too, I think having the openness to, when you are open, which you obviously are because you have mentors and you're involved in these types of programs, when you have the openness to be willing to learn, we don't have to be afraid of not knowing something, right? That the willingness to say I do need help and raise our hands and ask questions is such a piece of growth. And when we think we have to know all the answers, that's almost when that self-doubt comes in, because we don't know all the answers. We have to seek out from other people and get wisdom from those who have been on this path ahead of us.
Yeah, I think it starts with being vulnerable, right? And
Yep.
and being feeling comfortable saying, like you said, I don't know this. I need to ask questions, and actually asking the questions. But then take it to the next level, and if you get the advice, use it, right? I think that's one of the things that are the most frustrating as a mentor is, you give advice, you are generous with your time, and nothing happens, right? So I think we owe it to our mentors to act on the advice that they give us.
Yes, that's very true, right? It's like when people ask you a question and then they don't do it, and you're like, well, that's probably why you're struggling. Maybe try the advice. And if it doesn't work, like we talked about earlier, come back and we'll figure that problem out together.
That's right.
So what, I think you've spoken very highly of how much the program's benefited you, but what is your advice to other people considering joining the Food Service Women's Alliance Mentorship Program?
Just do it. Honestly, just do it. Is priceless. I think the Alliance has done a fantastic job since it became a thing, right? I think it's a being a new and a small organization has its benefits. I feel like the teachings that or the learnings you take from the events or activities and the advice I get from my mentor, uh, those combined make the experience with the Alliance amazing, right? Yes, it is. There are amazing leaders in the board and as members, but it's a very intimate experience. So I would highly, highly recommend anyone, right, who's in the food service industry or wants to enter the industry to join the Alliance and also join the mentorship program for sure.
Maria, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. It was such a pleasure to chat with you. And I'm just really enjoyed hearing about your journey with the FWA and with the mentor program. Thank you.